Karen kept trespassing on my lawn, so I built her a jail cell right there in the yard. Have you ever had a neighbor so brazen they'd treat your property like their personal playground? No matter how many times you told them to stop? That's exactly what I faced with Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of my quiet suburban street, whose entitlement turned my front yard into a battlefield and led to a showdown nobody saw coming. It started innocently enough. I'd moved into my cozy little house in Willow Creek, thrilled to finally have a patch of green to call my own. The lawn wasn't much, but I poured my heart into it, mowing, planting flowers, even installing a small bird bath for the sparrows. Then came Karen. She lived 2 houses down, a middle-aged woman with a perm as tight as her grip on neighborhood gossip. At first, it was just her dog, a yappy chihuahua named Princess, darting across my lawn to do its business. I'd politely ask Karen to keep Princess on a leash, and she'd flash a saccharine smile, promising it wouldn't happen again. Spoiler, it always did. But it wasn't just the dog. Karen started cutting through my yard to shave a few seconds off her walk to the mailbox. Then she began hosting impromptu yoga sessions on my grass, claiming it was flatter than hers. I'd find her friends' water bottles and yoga mats littering my flower beds. Each time I confronted her, she'd roll her eyes and say, "It's just a yard, Tom. Don't be so territorial." Territorial? This was my home, not a public park. I put up no trespassing signs, but Karen scoffed, saying they ruined the neighborhood aesthetic. I installed a low fence. She stepped over it like it was a hurdle in her personal obstacle course. My patience was fraying, and Karen was about to learn that pushing a quiet guy like me has consequences. The truth was, Karen's behavior wasn't just annoying, it was infuriating. I'd spent years saving for this house, my first real stake in the world. Every blade of grass felt like a piece of my dream, and she was trampling it without a second thought. I tried reasoning with her, sending polite letters, even talking to the HOA, but Karen had a knack for twisting every situation. She'd cry crocodile tears to the neighbors, painting me as the grumpy villain who hated dogs and overreacted. Meanwhile, my security camera caught her letting Princess dig up my tulips while she sipped her iced latte, unbothered. The footage was crystal clear, but Karen denied it, claiming my camera was spying on her. The audacity was staggering. Then came the twist. Enter Mrs. Delgado, the elderly widow next door. She'd been watching Karen's antics from her porch, knitting in her rocking chair like a silent sentinel. One evening, she shuffled over with a plate of cookies and a story. Turns out, Karen had been pulling the same stunts on her property years ago until Mrs. Delgado's late husband, a retired contractor, built a spiked flowerbed frame that accidentally pricked Karen's shins when she trespassed. Karen stopped crossing their yard after that. Mrs. Delgado's eyes twinkled as she said, "Sometimes, dear, you have to get creative to teach a lesson." Her words sparked something in me. I wasn't just fighting for my lawn. I was fighting for my peace, my boundaries, my right to exist without someone's entitlement suffocating me. The confrontation came on a sunny Saturday morning. I woke to find Karen hosting a full-blown picnic on my lawn blankets, baskets, and 6 of her loudest friends, their laughter drowning out my morning coffee ritual. My blood boiled. I marched outside, camera in hand, and demanded they leave. Karen stood, hands on hips, and sneered, "This is a community, Tom. Sharing is caring." I pointed to the no trespassing signs, my voice shaking with rage. "This is my property, Karen. Get off, or I'm calling the police." She laughed, her friends snickering behind her, and said, "Go ahead, call them. They'll see you're just a petty man throwing a tantrum over grass." That was the last straw. Inspired by Mrs. Delgado's tale, I decided to fight fire with fire, or rather, entitlement with ingenuity. I'm no contractor, but I'm handy enough. Over the next week, I worked late into the night, building a structure in my front yard. A mock jail cell, about 6 feet square, made of sturdy wooden beams painted to look like iron bars. It was a masterpiece of petty revenge, complete with a padlock gate and a sign reading, "Trespasser Timeout Zone, reserved for Karen." I even added a small bench inside for dramatic effect. The neighborhood buzzed with curiosity, and Mrs. Delgado gave me a thumbs up from her porch. Karen's reaction was explosive. She stormed over the next morning, Princess yapping at her heels, and shrieked, "What is this monstrosity? You're making a mockery of me." I leaned against my porch railing, calm as could be, and said, "It's art, Karen. My lawn, my rules. Keep trespassing, and you'll get a front row seat." Her face turned beet red, and she threatened to sue, call the HOA, even the mayor. I shrugged and pointed to my security camera, now upgraded with audio. "Go ahead. I've got footage of every time you've ignored my signs. Try me." The showdown peaked when Karen, true to form, didn't back down. The next day, she marched onto my lawn, ripped one of my signs out of the ground, and tossed it into the street. Big mistake. I'd already alerted the local police about her repeated trespassing, and Mrs. Delgado, bless her, had been recording the whole thing from her window. Within minutes, a patrol car pulled up. Karen tried her usual charm, batting her eyelashes and claiming I was harassing her. But the officer wasn't buying it. I showed him weeks of footage: Princess's messes, Karen's yoga sessions, the picnic, and now the sign-throwing tantrum. The officer's face hardened. "Ma'am, you're trespassing on private property. You've been warned multiple times. Let's go." Karen's empire crumbled as the officer cuffed her, her friends scattering like roaches. She screamed about her rights as she was led to the patrol car, Princess barking hysterically from the arms of a neighbor who'd rushed over. The mock jail cell stood proudly in my yard, a silent witness to her downfall. She wasn't sent to actual jail, just a night at the station and a hefty fine for trespassing and harassment, but the neighborhood gossip mill churned. Karen's reputation as the queen was shattered, replaced by whispers of her arrest. She avoided my street after that, her yoga sessions relocated to her own backyard. The aftermath was sweeter than I'd imagined. My lawn became my sanctuary again, free of Karen's footprints. Mrs. Delgado and I grew closer, bonding over coffee and her stories of outsmarting entitled neighbors. The jail cell stayed up for a month, a quirky landmark that made the local kids giggle and the adults nod in approval. I eventually dismantled it, but not before taking a photo with Mrs. Delgado sitting on the bench inside, knitting triumphantly. The neighborhood felt lighter, like we'd all reclaimed a little piece of our peace. Karen's defeat wasn't just about a lawn, it was about standing up to someone who thought they could bulldoze boundaries because of their own inflated sense of importance. It taught me that sometimes the best way to fight entitlement is with a mix of patience, proof, and a touch of audacious creativity. My yard is mine again, and every time I mow it, I smile knowing I fought for it. What do you think? Was my jail cell stunt a stroke of genius or a step too far? How would you handle a neighbor like Karen? Share your thoughts. I am curious to hear where you stand on this backyard saga.